Okay, and streaming is now live. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namasrishtam Manumapi Shachi Putramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajamurupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Sri Gurum Dam Natosmi. So today we are continuing Shri Brahma Samhita with verse 8. Niyati sarama devi tatpriya tadvasham tada talingam bhagavan shambhur jyotirupa sanatanaha yayoni sapara shakti kamo bijam mahadhare. Translation. So this is describing the way that Bhagavan indirectly comes in contact with Maya. Important point, which we'll circle back to. The spiritual potency in the form of Ramadevi, who is dear to Bhagavan, is destiny. That goddess is always controlled by the Supreme Lord and is always dedicated to his service. At the onset of creation, the effulgence of Mahavishnu, who is the expansion of Sri Krishna's plenary portion, is manifest in the form of Shambhu. That Shambhu is called the Linga of Bhagavan, meaning the manifest symbol of his generative capacity, and appears for the purpose of preparing the cosmic manifestation of the material universes. The linga in the form of Shambhu is a reflection of the eternal light or effulgence. The feminine receptive potency is manifest from Ramadevi or destiny. That potency which gives birth to the material creation is the inferior energy called Maya, whose intrinsic form is the yoni, the womb of universal creation. The union of the yoni and linga is the reflection of the Supreme Lord Shri Hari's desire seed in the form of the unmanifested material energy or Mahatattva. So there's a lot to unpack here. And I know reading this translation, just the translation of the Sanskrit of the verse, there are a lot of questions that come up, trying to understand this. So we'll go through the Tika of Srila Jiva Goswami and the Tatparya of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and try to address these points because it's not easy. Essentially, we're talking about creation. Now, in the previous verse, it was said that Mahavishnu does not directly consort with the material energy, but Prakriti is manifest directly from Ramadevi. So Ramadevi is the goddess, and she is described here as destiny. She is described here as the feminine potency of Mahavishnu. And from her comes the Adi Shakti goddess, the material energy controller in the form of Durga Devi. And Shambhu is manifest directly from Mahavishnu as his effulgence. This is a lot, there's a lot going on here, and let's try to go through it one thing at a time. But basically, Mahavishnu is not directly consorting with Prakriti. That is done through uh, Ramadevi manifesting as the external energy, Aparashakti. So let us go through the Tika. Who is Ramadevi? The 1.5 shlokas beginning with Niyati are being spoken in answer to this question. That's this verse here. She is constitutionally the spiritual potency, and she is called Niyati. Niyati means the controller, the regulator, and the regulatrix, as Srila in the old Gaudiya Mutt translation, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had used regulatrix. She is called Niyati because she is eternally present within the Swarup of Swayam Bhagavan, and because she remains Niyamita, regulated in her activities by Swayam Bhagavan. Thus, she is Bhagavan's submissive and beloved consort. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, Anapayani Bhagavati Sri Sakshadatmano Hari. She is directly Bhagavati Sri Lakshmi Devi, who is the eternal, inseparable potency of Sri Hari. The Shakti of Sri Hari is inseparable because she is directly of his intrinsic nature. This is a very important thing to understand. This goes back to Vedanta. Shakti, Shakti Mator Abheda. There is no separation between Shakti and Shaktiman. Shakti is the energy of Bhagavan, and Shaktiman is Bhagavan himself. But there is not a separation or bhed between Shakti and Shaktiman. This is the oneness of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Okay, so not to get into a whole talk on Vedanta and Advaya Gyan Paratattva, but in a nutshell, that is it. It is this inseparable nature of Shakti and Shaktiman. But let's continue here. So, Shri Hari is the embodiment of transcendental consciousness, and his internal potency, which is non-different from him, is the feminine aspect of the embodiment of transcendental consciousness. In other words, consciousness is the function of the living being. The living being is a consciousness, is an awareness. We think, we meditate on things, we desire things, we enjoy through the mind and senses. This is all just a perverted reflection of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is seeing, Bhagavan is enjoying, Bhagavan is desiring. These are all things that are done by Bhagavan, but Bhagavan is doing it it is in a completely pure context. We are forced into kind of a Mayic or false concept, but we can get back to that. So Sakshat means she, Ramadevi, is not the Shakti who is ashamed to be in the path of Sri Hari's vision. This is describing how the Shakti, Maya Shakti, says, I am ashamed to come in front of Sri Hari. I remain behind him. This is the nature of Maya because she is doing the desire, carrying out the desire of Bhagavan. Maya means illusion, that which is not, ma, not, ya, this. It also means mercy. So Maya is a form of mercy because those who want to be separate from Bhagavan, which is not possible, they will have the opportunity to be in this material world, to meet with sadhus and to reverse their condition and then go to be with Bhagavan, where no one ever falls from Bhagavan's Leela. Nobody will come like you have escaped from a horrible place, a prison, and someone will ask you, do you want to go back to that prison? No, 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 no. No way. That's crazy. Only a crazy person would want to be there. So Sakshat, she is not the Shakti who is ashamed to be in the path of Shri Hari's vision. That Shakti is the illusory potency who bewilders the living entities who are averse to Bhagavan. This is referring to the statement of Vishnu Puran, uh, that it says that there are three Shaktis. Uh, that there's Parashakti, which is the superior energy. There is the Kshetragya Shakti, which is also superior, but is minute. And then there is the Aparashakti, which has of the nature which communicates ignorance, avidya, and binds the living entities to fruitive activities. So the illusory potency bewilders living entities who are averse to Bhagavan. Bhagavati Lakshmi Devi has also been called Anapayani, means that she is imperishable or inseparable. Nityaiva sa Jaganmata Vishnu Shri Anapayani Yata Sarvagato Vishnus Tataivayam Dvijottama. O best of the twice born, the mother of the universe, Lakshmi Devi, is Bhagavan Vishnu's eternal Anapayani Shakti. Just as Vishnu is all pervading, similarly, his Shakti is also present everywhere. Whenever the master of the universe, the god of gods, Janardhan, descends to this world, his internal potency, Bhagavati Lakshmi Devi, also descends along with him in appropriate forms, such as those of goddesses or human beings, corresponding to the forms of Shri Hari. So this concept of Shakti also pervading everything is found in Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna explains that Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya. This Brahman, I am the basis of that Brahman. Brahman is also meditated on in the Brahma Gayatri. Om Bhura Bhuva Svaha Tat Savitur Varenyam. Who is that worshipable effulgence? Bharga. Bharga means the energy who pervades throughout the entire world. And that energy is also coming in the form of the sun. And in the Brahma Gayatri meditation, the devotee is praying, may that energy come within my heart, and may I be inspired only to follow that path of spiritual realization. So energy is also pervading every aspect. So we see this energy like wood, metal, glass, earth, and we think this is all just dull matter, but it is actually a transformation. It is a transformation of Bhagavan's energy. And so we are actually not separate from Bhagavan. The only problem, that's not to say that if I touch wood, I'm in touch with Bhagavan, but a pure devotee actually sees it this way. He sees that I am not separate. I am surrounded by Bhagavan's energy, but this is Maya realm, and this is being obscured by a layer of illusion. When the illusion becomes parted, then we see that everything is actually Bhagavan's energy, and Bhagavan's energy is not separate from him. So the energy, Lakshmi Ji in her various forms, is also coming along with the pastimes of Shri Hari. In some scriptures, it is mentioned that Shivaji's potency is the cause of the creation. So there are statements in the Vedas. And, we also sometimes try to explain this in our simple presentation of Sankhya philosophy. It is Purusha and Prakriti, according to Sankhya, are the origins of creation, because this is the joining together where the Prakriti forms the Yoni. So sometimes the concept of linga and yoni is interpreted to mean, oh, the linga is referring to, it is like a genital organ representation. And Gurudev has explained, no, that's not the case. This is the form of Bhagavan's generative potency. Okay. And that generative potency acts in the form of Shambhu because Shambhu or Sadashiva only can consort with Prakriti. Now, how do we reconcile these statements that the potency of Shivaji is the cause of creation? Just as the universe is considered the Swarup of Bhagavan in descriptions of the universal form, similarly, Shivaji's potency has been referred to as the cause of the universe in the context of considering her to be a limb of Bhagavan. So it is a little hard to understand. There's also a lot to unpack here, but basically, Prakriti has come from Ramadevi. Prakriti is personified in the form of Durga or Uma, the consort of Shankarji. Shankarji is an expansion of Sadashiva. Sadashiva is the person who is in Shambhu Tattva, who has the nature of Bhagavan transformed. Um, because Bhagavan never transforms, but Shankarji, Sadashiva, is the transformed aspect of Bhagavan's creative potential. And he consorts with the material energy because Bhagavan Vishnu does not consort with the material energy. So a little hard to understand, but we can just kind of keep this as an axiom and move on, and it will eventually make sense. According to the Vishnu Purana, the entire universe is a semblance of the transcendental radiance of Bhagavan's plenary portion. So it is the symbol or linga of the unmanifest Purush. In other words, the linga is also representing this universe, which is a semblance of the radiance of Bhagavan's plenary portion. The plenary portion indicated by this symbol is the plenary portion that creates the total material energy, and he is called Shambhu. The word linga should be interpreted to mean symbol or form. So some people incorrectly say that the linga, as in the Shiva linga, what we are worshiping, is a representation. It is a genital representation. That is not. And this linga and yoni together, they are representing the Prakriti and Purusha, who are transformations of Bhagavan and Bhagavan's Shakti for the purpose of creation. Bhagavan's first incarnation for creating this world in whom the material universe is situated, who takes a rounded form and who is the shelter and benefactor of unlimited living entities, is called Shivalinga or Shambhu. So this is the definition of Shambhu. And Shambhu is described in Brahma Samhita. Kshidam yatadati vikara visesha yogat sanjayate nahitata pritagasti heto ya shambhutam apitata samapaiti karyad govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Shankarji or Shambhu is compared to yogurt. Yogurt is not anything different from milk, but it's also not the same as milk. There is a transformation that has taken place. You can't make yogurt back into milk. But this is a description of Shambhu, who has the power of Bhagavan for the purpose of creation and for the purpose of annihilation in his form as Shiva. The phrase Anyastu tadavirbhava visesha means the other form of Shiva is called Sadashiva. He is a manifestation of Bhagavan for a specific purpose, and thus he is Vishnu Tattva. He is supremely benevolent. So we are talking in the context of creation of this world. And Shiva, whom we know within this world, who resides in Kailash, who is the friend of Naradaji, who is the expansion of Sadashiva, right? And the the understanding of Sadashiva as Vishnu Tattva. Advaita Acharya is also the manifestation of Sadashiva as Vishnu Tattva. So it is a difficult thing to understand Shambhu Tattva. It is not easy. It is not straightforward. But we understand Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Shambhu is the greatest of Vaishnavas. We worship Shambhu as the great Vaishnav because Shambhu also is the manifestation of Bhagavan for the purpose of joining with Prakriti for creation. The form of Shiva described as Shiva Shakti Yuktata Shashvat Trilango Gunasamrita is not Vishnu Tattva. The Shiva who is united with the illusory potency remains covered by three types of false ego, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. And this Shiva is described in Kshiram Yata Dativikara Visesha Yoga. So there is a description of Sadashiva, who is the manifestation of Bhagavan, who is Vishnu Tattva, and there is the Shiva, who is described as Kshiram Yatada Devikara, and he is not Vishnu Tattva, he is Shambhu Tattva. He is in his own category. So where do we find Sadashiva? Sadashiva is manifest, he appears, from him comes that Shiva who is the transformed for the purpose of creation. So the portion acting as the womb of creation is the inferior potency. It is called Apara Shakti. It is the unmanifest area of Maya that acts as the receptacle for Bhagavan's impregnation of potency in the form of innumerable living entities and is also called Pradhan. So this is getting back to these descriptions in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where we talk about creation, and there's a description of Sankhya. In Devahuti Putra Kapila Dev's teachings to his mother, he is describing Sankhya, and he is describing how there is the Pradhan and the Prakriti, the Purusha and Prakriti. This is the origin of Sankhya philosophy, the real theistic Sankhya philosophy. There's also an atheistic Sankhya philosophy that says that, oh, Purusha and Prakriti are these abstract thingies, and they come together and boom, there is this differentiation of matter. But this is actually coming from theistic Sankhya philosophy. Okay, so the Pradhan, this is the Prakriti, the inferior energy, the material energy has manifest like a womb. So the comparison is not literally to the womb, but the womb, the uterus, it is the potential for reproductive creation, where the seed will take root in that womb, implant, and then a baby forms. And so this material creation requires this kind of unmanifest state of the undifferentiated matter. We don't have earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intelligence, and ego. These have not yet been separated. It is a unmanifest state. And this, then Bhagavan glances towards this Maya to create the cosmic existence. And because of this glance, Ramadevi manifests her shadow, her chaya, or shadow, is the material energy. And then you get the whole birth of 24 elements, beginning with the Mahatattva. It is very, very hard to follow, but you can just kind of take it this way. Also go through the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But this is the process of creation, basically. So in this verse 8, the unmanifested material energy has been called the desire seed of Shri Hari, whose desire to glance in the direction of Maya for the purpose of creation is called kama. Kama is simply used in the most direct sense of desire. So Bhagavan impregnated material nature with his seed in the form of the instrumental causes of creation, namely Jiva Shakti and the Mahat Tattva. So that is the sense in which the word Mahat has been used. So Mahat Tattva, now the Pradhan, the unmanifest state, receives the glance of Bhagavan. That glance comes in the form of Shambhu, and the Pradhan is a manifestation of the shadow of Ramadevi, and then Mahatattva comes. Now you have the 24 elements of creation. So Shruti says, So Kamayata. At the beginning of creation, Bhagavan manifested the desire to beget the entire population. So according to Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is referring to third canto, where the instructions of Devahuti Putra Kapiladev, the son of Mother Devahuti, the statement beginning with Kalavritya confirms that Bhagavan impregnated the conscious spiritual Jiva Shakti into the actively manifesting area of material nature, consisting of the three modes of material nature, which was in a state of being agitated by the time potency. As a result, that manifestation of the predominated material nature gave birth to the vast Mahatattva. So this is the next thing that happens. The time factor, Kala Shakti, is injected into the material nature, and you get the three modes, the three gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. I know this is an awful lot to digest, but we are going through this, and we take this as an understanding of, how this material world has been created. Also, it's very important to remember this when we hear statements such as, for example, our Srila Prabhupada said, once, we were with Krishna in his sport. And then some people think, oh, wow, this means we were cowherd boys or gopis in the spiritual world and we fell to this material world. No, because one devotee, Jagadish Prabhu, wrote Srila Prabhupada to ask, and Srila Prabhupada explains, oh, it means we were with Mahavishnu. And this is exactly what is being referred to here. The Jiva Shakti has been injected into the material nature because the Jivas reside within Mahavishnu. And these are the conditioned Jivas, not liberated Jivas. If for the purpose of some pastime, liberated jivas like Jaya Vijay come in this material world. They come directly by the agency of Yogamaya. They are not coming through Mahavishnu at all. No, no, no. So this is simply one context in which it is helpful to understand this description of creation. So now we come to the Tatparya of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This, reading the translations of the Tika of Srila Jiva Goswami, it is like drinking a medicine. It's a little bitter. It's a little hard to digest sometimes because it is like a very strong, straight, pure understanding of the tattva that is irrefutably correct. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to break it down for us and make it a little easier to understand. Sankarshan is a personal expansion or amsha of Sri Krishna. Being imbued with a desire to create, he is inclined to manifest the universe of five elements. As he reclines in the causal ocean in the form of the first Purusha avatar, he casts towards Maya a glance that is the instrumental cause of the creation. The semblance of its reflected light is Shambhulinga, the generative capacity which unites with the shadow of Rama Shakti in the form of the universal womb of Maya Devi. So, big sentence here, but basically, the glance of Mahavishnu has an effulgence, a reflected light. And that reflected light is the Shambhu Linga. It is the generative capacity. And that is uniting with the shadow of Ramadevi in the form of Maya. So the effulgence, the reflection of Mahavishnu's glance is Shambhu, and the shadow of Ramadevi is Maya, and it is these two who are coming together. Okay. At that time, the semblance of the desire seed in the form of the aggregate unmanifest elements, or the Mahatattva, emerges and becomes absorbed in the task of creation. The first awakening of the desire seed created by Mahavishnu is called Hiranmaya Mahatattva, the golden form of the aggregate elements, which is the mental principle of readiness for cosmic creation. There is an extremely confidential consideration here. The desire of the Purusha engages in the act of creation after accepting the aspects of the instrumental cause and the ingredient cause. Now, here again, we are dealing with these terms of nimitta karan and pradhan karan, the instrumental cause and the ingredient cause. Here, Maya, the female receptive potency, acts as the instrumental cause, while Shambhu, the male generative capacity, acts as the ingredient cause, Upadan. So Upadan Karan and Nimitta Karan. So the Upadan Karan is Shambhu, the masculine principle, and the Nimitta Karan is the Prakriti. So the Purusha who acts according to his own sweet will is Mahavishnu. And the ingredient principle, or pradhan, is the ingredient cause, or upadan. In other words, it is the Prakriti who provides the ingredients of creation, but um, it is the Prakriti provides the ingredients, right? But it is um, the glance of Mahavishnu reflected as Shambhu, who is giving that order, which has been translated from the desire of Mahavishnu. Why does Mahavishnu desire? Oh, because there are jivas who don't want to serve me. They need a place. Let's give them a home. It is like a monkey rescue. You know, there are, oh, monkeys have been collected, but we can't kill monkeys. We will make a monkey cage for the monkeys to fling poo at each other, and they can act like monkeys and it won't disturb everyone. So this material world is like a big monkey cage. And Mahavishnu saw that there were all these monkeys suffering on the street, and he said, "Oh, let's have a monkey cage. Let's oh," and his potency reflected as Maya Shakti is the jailkeeper, Durga. So the creator of the material universe and the cause of the union of the other two principles is Sri Krishna's partial expansion, the Purusha, or the principle of desire. So these three, Pradhan, Prakriti, and Purusha, constitute the agents of creation. Again, it is a lot to take in and to understand, but Pradhan, Prakriti, these are the principles of the creation, and the Purush is Mahavishnu, who is Krishna's expansion. Now we are going to talk about desire seed. So the original desire seed is the desire seed of Goloka, which is a purely transcendental reality. But the desire seed of the material world is a manifestation of potencies such as time, which are included within the shadow of the spiritual potency. So this kama, this desire, is the desire seed that creates the material world. It is not the same as the desire found in Goloka. That kama in Goloka is sometimes compared to gold, compared to iron. Our lust or our desire in this world is sometimes compared to iron. It will bind us. But the desire, the kama of the gopis especially, has the quality of gold. It is shining and spotless and pure. So this transcendental desire seed is the original principle of which Maya is the reflection, but it is far removed from Maya. And the example has been given sometimes, like there's a reflection, there's a tree growing on the bank of the river, and reflected in the water, we see a tree which is upside down. It is perverted. And that's what the material world is like. The thing which is very high in the spiritual world is the desire to serve Krishna, to please the transcendental senses of Krishna. And the thing which is very low in this world is lust, the selfish desire to satisfy one's senses. So this secondary desire seed is the illusory reflection of that original transcendental desire seed. And then Shambhu Tattva will be described in detail in verses 10 and 15.
Um,
So
would this be an
this,
okay time for a question?
yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say this is a good time for questions.
Thank you very much. This has been very enlightening. In the translation, it describes that Rama Devi is destiny. What does that mean?
Well, so she is described, and there is a word that's used in the Hindi, and we settled on using destiny because destiny, the word used means that is she is Daivi. Daivi means that which gives you the results of what you have done according to the divine superintendence. So I don't remember exactly the word that was used in the Hindi, but I think that was it. I think it was Daivi. So basically, she is the ultimate form of destiny because she is the Shakti of Bhagavan. It's the shadow, it's her shadow, which is the Maya Shakti. So it is said that anything that we do becomes our fate or destiny, right? And the form of destiny it comes from the Shakti of Bhagavan. And this is why the that Ramadevi is sometimes referred to as destiny because she is the origin of um, the Prakriti. Does that make sense? It says, this is probably one of the most tattva dense, and there are going to be a few more as we go through this Brahma Samhita. And there are some verses which are very wonderful and delve into, you know, the 64 arts practiced by the gopis for the satisfaction of Sri Krishna. Um, and there's so much rasa in this book, but in places there is so much very difficult to penetrate tattva, but it is very useful to hang on to this tattva and understand, how this world has come about, how it has come about as desire, why it has come about as a result of desire. It is to accommodate those jivas who do not wish to be engaged in the service of Krishna.
Thank
Any
you.
other any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. And that was quite a lot. Uh, but we will continue next week with verse 9. Hare Krishna.